Hey guys, I know that most of you don't really care about what I have to say, and maybe some of you followed me because of my Melanie videos that I posted up not too long ago, but I just kind of wanted to get this out. I was watching a Pop Trigger video about Avril Lavigne's kind of now old-ish song Hello Kitty, and about whether it's racist or not. And I've actually been thinking about this literally for months. Like sometimes it just crosses my mind, and I've been back and forth with it as to whether or not it's racist because I feel like there are reasons why it is, reasons why it's not, and after watching that video, I thought about it again. And then I feel like I kind of have a bit of an answer. I guess some background first. I personally I know a solid amount about Japanese culture. So when I first off saw that video, I was I just heard it was bad. People were like, "Oh, it's a bad video. The song sucks. It's dumb." And I was like, "All right, let me check it out." And then I saw it and I was like, "Seems a little racist to me." That's the first thing I thought after watching it. And a lot of people argued it's not. She spends time in Japan, blah blah blah. And I thought, it kind of is, because as someone who knows a lot about Japanese culture, she really, and apparently she spends like 6 months in Japan every year, but she really scratched the surface Japanese culture wise. Like the things that she highlights in her video are like a little candy store, I guess in Harajuku, and like sake and sushi. And honestly, if you, I think, want to pay homage to Japan and really kind of show how much you love and care about the culture, I think just about any American that has no knowledge of Japan, if you ask them something like, "Oh, well, what do you know about Japan?" Especially food and culture wise, they'll probably say sake and sushi. So really, she didn't seem to um display any sort of actual knowledge of the culture as someone who spends so much time there. I would think they're like kind of, I think the standard American doesn't necessarily know takoyaki or dango or I don't know, or really any other real food. You can have you eating like cute little onigiri or stuff to show that you really like know what you're talking about. I think from an American standpoint, it didn't really look like she knew what she was talking about because her knowledge was not advanced. So that then came off as racist. Plus, her Japanese and her grammar is a little off in the video, so that's why it came off as racist. And a lot of people say no, like it's not. Here's the kicker. My roommate in college, Shoko, she's Japanese, and it's not that she's a first gen American or anything. She's an international student. She was born and raised in Japan, lives there. I'm on break right now, so she's back in Japan, and I'll see her when I get back from school. And I asked her, and I asked a lot of my other Japanese friends because there are a lot of international students at my school. Um, I showed them the video because I was curious, and I asked them if they thought it was racist. And almost across the board, all of them said no. And I was really surprised because I felt like this was like blatant cultural appropriation. They were like, no, it's fine. Some thought it was funny, some were like, I'm happy she's taking part in our culture. Some people it just didn't bother them. And I think about that, and I know like Tumblr posts and stuff like that, when people say, "Oh, this is racist towards black people," often I say, "Yeah, but I don't feel offended, and black people don't feel offended, therefore it's not racist." So when I then flip that and think about it from a Japanese point of view, if they say it's not racist, doesn't that not make it racist? But after watching Pop Trigger, I thought about it deeper, and I realized this video in several ways is racist, but it's not racist. maybe to an American it's racist, but to a Japanese person it's not. And let me explain myself when I say that. Japan is probably one of the largest countries in the world that uniformly has uh mostly one race. Most countries like France and Germany, America, China have a lot of other people in there living there who are not necessarily from there or not necessarily the dominant race living there. So there are a lot of black and Hispanic and white people living in China, even though it's China. So that is to say, the percentage of Chinese people isn't all that close to 100 because there's a population of people that live there that aren't necessarily Chinese and or Asian. But Japan has a very high percentage of Japanese people living in there. That's why a lot of the time Japan's known for being particularly xenophobic because it's like, I'm probably wrong about this, but it's near 97% Japanese, I believe. That is to say, the Japanese, therefore, don't have a lot of stereotypes about the Japanese because their country is mostly composed of themselves. So, that being said, when stereotypes usually form, it's because another race or an outside race is making stereotypes about a certain race. And when you hear stereotypes about your race, these stereotypes are made and perpetuated by other races, not yourself, because you know yourself. So really, stereotypes don't have much use within your race unless they are made by other people outside of your race. That being said, because Japan is predominantly Japanese, they have very little stereotypes about themselves. They don't, they're not really exposed to the racism that is insinuated about Japanese people, unless it's probably from, say, Korean people or other countries sort of nearby, which are also Asian. So really, any sort of stereotypes they get about the Japanese are from other Asian countries. That aside, though, um, the only real, I guess, stereotypes the Japanese have about themselves is that they're particularly, they're kind of, they're straight-laced and polite, and they are not as out there as the West. Meanwhile, in America, the stereotypes we have about not even just the Japanese, Chinese, most Asian countries, Vietnam, Thailand, places like this, we people can rattle them off. They're good at math. They're robotic. They're not emotional. We have a good amount of stereotypes about Asian people. So now, looking back at the Hello Kitty video, when we see that Avril Lavigne has backup dancers that are dancing particularly robotic and they're not showing emotion and they all have the same straight haircut and they're marching in place, and you see she's doing the before she eats her sushi. To us, that shows us a very clear image of what a stereotypical Asian is like, while because Japan does not have those stereotypes about the Japanese people or Asian people, they don't see it as racist. So, in the end, the question, is Hello Kitty racist? Like I said before, I think yes and no. To an American, it is racist because she perpetuates stereotypes and doesn't show proper advanced knowledge about a culture she claims to be really immersed in. While in Japan, they those stereotypes don't really exist, so they don't feel offended because they don't feel a particular part of their identity is being violated. So that's my thought on it. You can comment below if you disagree with me or anything, and I'm sorry for filling up your subscribe box with this really long video. Thanks for watching though.